welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm your host, Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
Oh, a bit more laid back this time. I like it. Sometimes you just...
You like commenting on what I bloody say.
Well, because I don't know what else to say after the intro before we get into the actual show. Nobody wants to hear about our lives. They're here for the games, right? Should we just jump right in?
You goddamn thick water.
I think we'll just jump right into Click Pitch. For those who might just be joining us here in the late 90s.
97 to be sure.
For those who are just joining us here in the late 90s, where I'm still, a teenager.
And I'm wearing parachute pants.
Y2K hasn't happened yet. We're getting drunk on cheap whiskey. Oh, wait, I'm still doing that. Click Pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we will each click refresh. And in this ramped up version of Click Pitch, we will each get a phrase, an adjective and a noun. And we'll put those phrases together and make a game design. See what comes out into the
some
game design combobulator. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, click.
2, 1, click.
Dietary respiration.
Tiniest gore.
Gore, like Gore.
Yeah.
All right. So, tiniest gore.
I know what's sort of going into my head right now.
Yeah, I've got a couple things floating around in there.
Yes, and in my idea, there would also be a little guy in a spaceship floating around in there. Because I'm thinking inner space.
I was about to say, so we're doing the game version of inner space. That's an interesting... So, I just had a really weird idea that doesn't make any sense, but I've literally just stopped playing some Overwatch. And I was just thinking about how in inner space, who's in his body? Dennis Quaid? Yes. It's a Quaid. Dennis Quaid.
Yes. It's Dennis Quaid. It's definitely not Randy Quaid.
No. Oh, that'd be a different movie. He's injected into Martin Short. But I was just thinking if there's sort of two phases to this game. One where you play a sniper who has a target. But they don't shoot bullets, they shoot an injection of the next phase, which is the little spaceship that gets injected into their bloodstream. Or maybe it's not always a sniper, maybe there's sort of a general assassin, Assassin's Creed, but I'm thinking modern obviously, but like assassin mode where you have to either get close to them or, take them out, inject them from afar with a sniper rifle. And then the next phase is, all right, now you find yourself in this person's body and you've got a mission. And it might be to kill them. In a way that does not, because if they were just shot in the head with a sniper rifle, I mean, that's going to attract some attention.
Yeah.
But if they're subtly injected from afar with a tiny little spaceship, well, not spaceship, body ship, that makes its way to their heart and injects some poison into it, then, it's going to seem like natural causes.
What was your words again?
Dietary respiration.
Okay, so I like the idea that there's many different uses for this technology. So one of it is that your nutritionist or your dietary specialist can get down and sort of analyze the fat tissue and all that sort of stuff. You got the lung specialist who can go in and analyze the lungs directly. And then you've got the assassin.
Oh, okay. So they're just like practitioners.
They're practitioners, but then there's someone else who's actually got the technology as well, and it's just a whole heap of different sort of like. So
you play this is set in a future where this technology is common. You play a stomach and lung specialist.
No, I'm actually thinking you play the pilot. So you've got a specialist in there with you.
Oh,
and they tell you
they
where
don't
to go.
pilot themselves. All right, so they're just like navigating you.
Yeah. So to get extra money and that sort of stuff, you moonlight on the side for like an assassin.
Oh, I see. I was thinking that. Yeah, okay. I was thinking that somehow. All right. So, well, then the pilot does need some special skills because, yeah, sure. In the case of an actual legitimate practitioner, it's pretty straightforward. They, get injected in, and then I don't know how do they get out? Do they have to find themselves to an exit?
Well, I'm thinking. Do you remember the old like DOS game Descent?
Yes, of course.
How you're sort of flying around in like 3D space and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
I'm picturing that as like the body version of that. So what you're going up against are like antibodies and all this sort of stuff, having to fire against them. But each level you've got a different target within this body that you're trying to.
I actually like
access.
the idea that, particularly in the case of just regular practitioners, there's no combat. It's all about maneuvering. It's all about just like getting around the body. But you get into a bloodstream. It might be moving really quickly, and so you can't. It's not just
go against
flying.
the flow.
Yeah, it's not just flying around like in Descent where everything's anti-gravity, like no gravity. It's you've got to deal with like the flow of blood and stomach acid and.
Gas platelets coming towards you.
Yeah, and just the lungs inhaling and exhaling and, filling up the space, and emptying it again. But then, so I like the idea that across the course of this, like you start off obviously just as the pilot for these doctors, who get in there and just say, go over there. I need to see that side of the lung. Like, watch out for, here comes a breath, like get out of the way.
Oh, it's sort of like, if you remember well, I'm not sure whether you played many Zelda games, but there's some levels in which you'll have something coming towards, so you've got to like get into like a little alcove and
exactly.
Wait for them to get past, and then you get out again, and I can see little alcoves in the lung and all this sort of stuff that you.
Yeah, and I think you've got like maybe a little sort of grappling hook sort of thing, or maybe it depends on different ships and stuff. But so you can kind of latch onto stuff to not get blown away or pulled through with the current too much. And then like I think there is. Sort of some skill to escaping or navigating your way to the exit. Whether it's, I don't know, it depends how big you are, right? Does it have to be a relatively large hole like a nostril, mouth, or the other end?
Nostril or the other end, or
can you just get out like through the pores in the skin or something?
I'm thinking that in death ones, where you're killing someone and they say, yeah, we don't care how clean you exit. It's like you just blow a massive hole in their back.
Well, maybe you get to do autopsies and stuff too. In which case, like, all right, autopsy completed, and you just come
out
back
of the Y incision.
You just come back to full size. It's like, all right, autopsy done.
Instagib.
Yeah. But then obviously, end of Act 1 is you get recruited by this assassin, and now your ship is outfitted with, some more interesting tools and perhaps weapons, and perhaps you get to the point where you're going up against figures who, have protection, right? Like these rich and powerful people. They're aware of this technology. They literally have people swimming around in them at all times. Like they have, they have inner guards.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like my ship's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Fly out.
I was just thinking,
It's going to the toilet.
No, it's like, all right, guard change. Everybody get to the anus. It's
get to the bladder. It's the cleaner way of getting out.
Yeah, but it takes longer. You got to line up. You got to make sure you don't, that you fly out of the way before you fall into the toilet, before he flushes. But then you're getting fired into these people, and you might come across guards in there. You have to fire back, and you get to see what the collateral damage of that looks like. Can you imagine?
Oh God.
But you're trying to keep it as clean as possible because you don't want to be found out. But, if you're punching holes in veins and lungs and things, it's going to be messy.
Oh God. I'm just imagining the different sorts of levels. It's awesome. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Read one quick.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say it gave me almost a hit signature vibe where the bodies could almost be randomly generated and you don't know what sort of guards are going to be in there and what your mission's going to be.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, click. Oh, God. I'm going second.
Pasted Peninsula.
Posthumous mistress.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Okay, so it's a narrative game where you play the mistress of a guy who's just died.
Okay, that's a safe way to take that.
And you've got to deal with the whole fish out of water at the funeral as such.
Okay.
I like the idea that it's set in his hometown, which happened to be on a peninsula.
Yep.
And like,
and he was the king of paste. He sold sold clag.
I was thinking that he owned the local glue factory.
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
Yeah. I like the idea that the rumors have been going around for years that he had a mistress, and
So
when he died, you've never met the wife, but she found out about you through like his deathbed confession sort of thing.
Okay. Is this like more the case of kind of a second family situation as opposed to it's not like just a fling, it's like a long-term...
It's a long-term
adulterous relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. And you play the mistress.
You play the mistress. So
what sort of gameplay are you thinking? 'Cause you said narrative.
I'm thinking narrative. I'm thinking, there's some conversation sort of stuff that you gotta deal with. There's some I'm thinking that you can always have like an inner psyche sort of puzzle things
so
going
you've
on.
got a bit of like inner monologue kind of stuff happening.
Yeah, and you're trying to piece together, whether you can hold up through staying through this whole horrible ordeal.
So
you're
is
not going to be
is-
the most
is
liked person, and
Is the goal just like surviving it? Like you're there literally just to pay your respects, or is there some sort of other goal around?
I think one of the things is you actually got an invite to this from your
partner,
previous partner, saying that if you came along to this, it would be definitely within your favour to do this.
So
And
is there something around the will? Like, is she?
Yeah, I'm thinking there's something around the will.
Do they have a child together? Maybe like she's there because she knows that she needs to provide for her child, and there's the potential here and his child, obviously.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, she might not show up. But
so I like the idea of there being inner monologue sort of things. You can almost play out some of the confrontations in her head.
Yeah.
So that she becomes almost like an unreliable narrator sort of thing, in which you're not sure whether this is
the actual conversation or not.
The actual conversation, or if it goes badly, it's
Well, that could be a good mechanic,
it can escalate
actually, to let the player make bad decisions while not penalising them permanently.
Yeah. And if they make the right decisions, then it's effectively it's the canon way that it happens.
I like the idea that maybe the child is like an early teenager, and so you can develop the relationship between the mother and the child as well, in that like she constantly is either receiving or making phone calls back to her daughter, like and sort of giving her a play-by-play and getting advice from her, and you could sort of use that as well as the inner monologue to really develop those characters and sort of express what she's feeling.
So I'm picturing this this whole like area, this whole peninsula is sort of like open for exploration sort of thing. Like,
Okay.
I'm picturing that this, that where the funeral's being held is like on his,
Estate
on his
or
massive, like, estate.
Yep.
So you can sort of go around sort of, looking at the different things on the estate and
Yeah.
maybe you're following a certain, like a scavenger hunt sort of thing that he basically said, I want you to go find this.
Right.
You know, and it's
yeah.
part of in between the conversations and that sort of stuff. If you can sneak away and sort of explore the island a bit or explore the peninsula.
Narratively, then, do we bring in the potential that there was foul play involved, or that there's other shifty stuff going on amongst, like, within the family?
I kind of like there being almost a, I don't know, dynasty or something like that. You know, this really dysfunctional family with the, with his actual family.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wonder when your character found out about the fact that she was actually a mistress and not the only one. That...
Look, I feel like maybe she knew most of the time. You know, I'm kind of getting this sense of, yeah, he's got this completely dysfunctional family. He's got all this wealth. Are we saying that he sort of built this company and wealth himself, or are they just, do they come from money and he runs the company, or?
What I kind of like is that she never knew that he was actually this rich guy. She just fell in love with this guy that she met.
Yeah, I think she had some idea, but like they didn't talk about it, and she sort of realized that that with her was the only place he could kind of actually be himself, because his family expects so much and they're all messed up and.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I'm really liking this from a narrative point of view. I'm really liking that there's some ideas of you know, some foul play going on, and that you find his diary in the estate. You find you know, other little things saying, you know, that he's almost being trapped in the relationship. You know, with his actual wife, and the person that he really loves is the mistress. But
well, and you could do some really interesting things too with, like you said, the unreliable narrator.
Yeah,
and you don't want to go too far down that path, but because of where we jump into the story, this is the first time she's finding out about the family, meeting the family, and it's all coloured through what she knows of him.
Yeah,
and this sort of scavenger hunt, treasure hunt that he sent her on, and maybe he's done this because he thinks there's the potential, like he set it up because he thinks there's the potential that someone could try to kill him, and that this would lead her to figure that out. But so we could then go either, you know, a couple of different ways. We could go down the path that she finds out that actually he was quite paranoid, and like his family actually loved him, and he was just, you know, he had some mental health issues that were undiagnosed, and. But you know, and that could go. You could go quite deep on that and do some interesting things there, or you could take it a bit lighter as such. And this dysfunctional, wacky family is just who they seem on face value, and that's probably for an adventure game, if that's where we're going, a bit more.
For some reason, I'm seeing the family as like a almost as dysfunctional as Arrested Development.
Yeah. I mean, and it's that typical rich family kind of dysfunction, right? Like they're all entitled, they all have their own little weird quirks and things. What's
her job? Like, what's your character's job?
Yeah, well, I think she's, you know, probably. I mean, it depends how tropey we want to go, because you know, working class in some fashion, presumably, or middle, you know, working class, middle class sort of position, so getting by, not, you know, I don't know.
Teacher. Psychiatrist, or
maybe like
psychologist.
Maybe she's even. I was going to say maybe she's even studying, like she's working while she tries to complete a degree, sort of thing. I don't know. Are you thinking of this to kind of supplement
some of the gameplay, maybe?
Yeah, the actual gameplay.
I kind of like the idea that she works as like a psychologist or something for that does analysis on different people,
right, so
she can
has
actually
some insight.
Yeah, has a little bit of insight, but again, you know, you got some of the unreliable narrator sort of stuff that you can play around with that.
Yeah.
You know, what she's actually, what you're
maybe
being presented is like the worst case scenario of these sort of characters.
Yeah,
the
perhaps.
over the top version.
I was thinking maybe she could be like a social worker where she's not specifically trained in you know, psychoanalysis, but she's come across a lot of these sorts of people or sorts of conditions or sorts of behaviors before, you know, working with different people.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm liking the idea that as you're talking to people, like she's making notes in her like mind notebook as such, you know, so you can actually access the thoughts that she's noting down, but she's not actually, you know, it's not a physical
She's not
notebook.
sitting there and like writing notes and drawing pictures of all the people in the family. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah. What's the sort of graphical style that you're picturing?
Look, whenever we talk about point and click, I really just go back to, funnily enough, Sierra style 2D.
Yeah.
LucasArts was always a bit more exaggerated. Sierra always made their characters a bit more realistically proportioned and that sort of thing. And that's sort of, for this sort of game, I was almost picturing like a Laura Bow or something. Do you know what I mean? That sort of vibe. Yep.
The only thing I'd like to say is that it's traditional character sort of look, but the graphical style is, say, the cleanness of Monkey Island 3. So, in like Laura Bow and that sort of stuff, it was very, very pixelated on their face and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm not necessarily thinking you
so like the
go
clean,
down to like 320
the clean
pixels
cartoon,
across.
Yeah. The clean cartoon look.
Well, maybe a bit more like a
realistic-y.
broken sword or something then.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Here we go, showing our knowledge of all the different different types of graphical styles out there.
Always been my favourite genre.
I really need to get back into playing that one that you were mentioning to me the other day. It's installed, I just haven't played it yet.
Unavowed, yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1, click.
Click. Grimiest delinquent.
Slashing Husk.
Oh, slashing husk. That's interesting. Are you thinking of? What are you thinking of?
Hang on a second. Okay. So, I'm picturing it as a teenager who's effectively been, you know, had his Spider-Man moment of being bitten by like a radioactive spider.
Okay.
But what he got bitten by was like a radioactive butterfly or something like that. So he's gone into like
something that involves a metamorphosis. Is that where you're going?
Something that involves some sort of metamorphosis. So he's got to slash his way out of the husk that gets created, and I'm just liking the idea that like his body is kind of slimy and just picks up all the grime as he's going around.
Oh,
it's
God.
really hard to clean off.
All right. I like that idea. So he's a teenage superhero.
Yeah.
All right, I need to just quickly Google, because a butterfly is obviously one thing that.
I just like the idea of a superhero called the Butterfly.
I just want to quickly see if there's anything grosser that we can find.
Other than the fact that he's got like instead of a mouth, he's now got a massive proboscis.
Oh God. Well, okay. All right. Let's stick with butterfly. But look, Spider-Man doesn't have 8 legs, 8 eyes, doesn't spin webs from his butt. Like it doesn't take on though like every physical, ability. It takes on the useful physical abilities. So let's not go too far with the fucking massive proboscis and 24-hour lifespan of a butterfly. But I think
he gets the power of flight.
Well, listen, because I think it's something like every night he goes back into his larval phase. So, look,
He's on a night mission, and it's like, ding, ding, ding. Oh, sleepy time. The larval phase just starts again.
well, I don't know if it just kicks in. I think maybe if he hasn't needed his powers for long enough or something, they like regress, and to turn back into Butterfly Man, he has to go into his cocoon again for, a couple of hours. And come out with the power of flight. So yes, he has giant, beautiful butterfly wings.
But they fall off at the end of each day.
Yeah.
So it's got like that 24-hour phase.
Well, so yeah, maybe that is the 24-hour lifespan sort of thing.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, like it does bring in that short lifespan of the butterfly.
So when you come out of the husk, do you have to wait, let the wings dry out for
well, that's where the
for like an hour or so?
That's where the griminess comes in. You have to avoid all dirty areas, or your wings are fucked for the rest of that day. and the people you were going to fucking save are dead.
Okay, so city-wise, New York's got too many fucking superheroes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this guy is in like the back alleys of Hobart.
Why not? Does Hobart have a lot of butterflies, or are you just like taking our characters to Tasmania?
I'm just taking our character to Tasmania. I know, I was thinking of a dirty, grimy city. I'm like, that's Sydney, but I can't really be saying anything about Sydney. Let's just use Hobart. We've never used that.
I'm pretty sure you suggested Tasmania like 6 times this year, but anyway, that's fine. I'm not sure we've ever gone with it, so let's do it. Hobart, what's the Hobart skyline look like? Pretty lame. Yep, cool, perfect. There's a nab. There's a tall nab.
Okay, so he works at the nab.
He works at the nab. He has to find himself a fucking like stationery closet. He's like, oh my god, I hear someone in trouble.
You know what? Fuck it. It is actually Melbourne, but he
We're still not going with Hobart. All right, go on.
Yeah, he was working in the zoo in the butterfly house.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that ties it in a bit more nicely.
A bit nicer, because I'm like, I don't know if the bloody Hobart Zoo has a fucking butterfly house, but I know that.
I don't know if Hobart has
the Melbourne Zoo. I know that Melbourne Zoo does, and unless he's originally from Hobart and he was just working here on like, I don't know, sabbatical or something like that.
Let's just stick with Melbourne.
Yeah, because we know what Melbourne's like. Okay, so he's working in the butterfly house. They've just brought in a brand new butterfly. That was,
I mean, do we go the standard kind of huge corporation experimenting on it with some sort of radioactivity or genetic modification?
I'm thinking that there was some nuclear testing that was performed in like South Australia.
Yep.
And, this is the only butterfly that sort of survived from the area that's been brought in by a specialist from his own collection.
Right. Yep.
He
captured it.
Captured it
Yep.
in. He didn't realize that it was like a nuclear testing site or something like that.
He doesn't know. I like the idea of like the intro to this thing, just sort of following the butterfly through these phases. Initially it's in a glass container with a bunch of other butterflies in this lab, and then through the glass of the container you see. And maybe it's soundproof. So all you're hearing is the fluttering and flapping of butterfly wings. But outside you're seeing chaos as this nuclear event, starts happening. And eventually like an employee runs past and knocks the container to the ground. And then suddenly all the sound from outside, the alarms and the screams come bursting in.
Yep.
But
so
and you sort of see the irradiated, or maybe you get a glimpse of like specimen, experiment 23A, specimen 2, superpowered butterfly or whatever. I don't know.
So one of the things I like about this is that you can actually sort of go against the grain of the whole 24-hour thing for butterflies. Like maybe one of the conversations that you hear is, this is a very special butterfly, I found this butterfly 6 days ago, and it's still kicking.
Maybe the whole thing is and I did look it up. A lot of butterflies have longer than 24-hour lifespan. But anyway, maybe what it is that this butterfly can, instead of dying, it does revert to its larval phase, and sort of it has its own internal life cycle.
Yep.
Where through a period of self regeneration, it becomes a caterpillar again, and then will become a butterfly again, and like the cycle continues. And
I'm thinking that the scientist is literally calling it like the phoenix butterfly.
Yes.
Because it just raises from the dead.
Yes. Or the Lazarus butterfly.
The
Lazarix.
Lazerfly.
The Lazerfly. The laser butterfly. There you go. It's got lasers. Forget all the other stuff. No, I like that. I like the phoenix.
Laser beam.
I like the phoenix butterfly, and it can have some really nice, like, flame
decals.
Not decals, but the patterns on its wings. I like the idea that the patterns are procedurally generated each time, but they're always sort of somewhat flame reddish, flame shaped and red orange.
Oh, so I'm picturing that the butterfly, as I'm calling the superhero, not Butterfly Man, because that just doesn't roll off the tongue. The butterfly actually has like a phoenix on his cape or on his wings each time. So it's sort of it's like what. But why are you called the butterfly when you've
got a phoenix? What, and he has to explain the whole thing.
Yep,
the whole backstory.
I just love that idea.
Well, okay, he has to explain the whole backstory, and so going back to this intro scene. Like, you see the butterfly, you see a little bit about its powers, or you, like, overhear the scientist talking before he dies. You follow the butterfly as it, like, flaps its way, gets caught by this collector, brought into the zoo, and it's in there, and then, like, lands on and bites, or whatever, infects this kid.
Yep.
And then it cuts, and you see that he's just explaining this for the 900th time to somebody and that's why I have a phoenix on my show.
And I think, sort of like the next time that it happens, the same thing happens again. It's just a little bit faster. And then finally it's like you just see butterfly in a room, and he just doesn't even bother with it anymore.
It's like, whatever. I'm the phoenix.
Why are you the phoenix? You got butterfly wings. Fuck!
And so, yeah, I mean, obviously gameplay-wise then, I'm kind of just thinking it's very much a superhero open world sort of thing around Melbourne. I'd love to see that sort of game set in Melbourne. With some stuff around the delay between having to... Well, I mean, I guess you'd just bring that in to some sort of story sort of thing where, all right, your day's over. Or when you die, obviously, you, like, turn back into... You wake up in your bed or something, or you wake up nearby and you've regenerated back into your human form, which is...
And there's a husk on the ground.
Yes. You kind of crawl out of your previous body, slash your way out of your previous body. Sometimes you literally wake up in the morgue. Sometimes you're just in the back alley, depending on what
as you said, you sort of cut your... I think you've got like really, really sharp nails that you can like just cut your way out of the body and that sort of stuff.
I love the idea that he had to develop. Like previously, he was a nail biter, but when he got this power, and the first couple times he woke up in a husk and really couldn't get out very easily,
he couldn't breathe, and then it was like a husk within a husk.
God. He just endless husks in husks until his fingernails grew long enough to cut his way out of them. I
should have can't breathe.
6 hours later. Yeah. Oh, God. Who is his main villain?
Well, here's the thing. I think he's been like really careless with like the husks that he leaves behind. And is basically a scientist who has taken these husks and has extracted like some of the
DNA,
radioactivity and has injected it into himself. So is like I think that it's a little bit kind of degraded. So he's got very plain wings.
Well, and because he's trying to reverse
almost a
because he's trying to reverse engineer it. I think it's never as strong and powerful as the original. So he gets some of the butterfly powers. Maybe he sort of gets some of the resurrection powers, but he gets older every time or something. Like he ages by like a year or 2 years or 5 years or something every time he dies and comes back. And so
I know that it's not even, the same species or anything like that, but I like the fact that he calls himself the Moth. Because
the Mothman.
He doesn't actually have, like coloured wings or anything like that. They're kind of dull brown.
I love the idea that the first time they meet, he's like, you can call me the Mothman. And the guy's like, I'm pretty sure that's already a thing. Like there's that horror, like there's that mythical creature, the Mothman. I think it's in like West Virginia. It's like, what? No, but I'm like a moth. Like, what? No, yeah, but it's already taken.
And what are you? I'm the butterfly. But you got a phoenix. Oh, well.
That goes through the whole intro again.
Just really, really fast.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I really like that idea. Having the bad guy as like, and the fact that, you just were careless with the husks and that sort of stuff because it's like,
yeah. Well, and it's hard. Like you're dying in it, and you're sort of when you wake up, you're all gross for one. You're naked. You're weak, and so you can't always like haul this husk. It's fairly light. It's just a husk, but it's still a human-sized husk. You can like stomp it into pieces, into dust. It's sort of all dried out and flaky.
What about like I'm picturing that there's going to be like news reports about like depending on how many times you actually die. Like I think there's definitely a scripted death that is going to happen. But if you're really, really good after that, then you're not going to get as much media attention. But the more that you die, the more media attention that there actually is on these husks that have been turning up around the city with basically this eviscerated guy that they can't get any DNA out of this husk, but it looks like someone has been ripped apart, and it's always a young man, mid to late 20s, can't quite tell the facial features, but he's got brown hair.
So it's kind of maybe a side story that the more you die, the more you hear about this serial killer that is just like sucking the life out of its victims and leaving these empty husks.
I just love the idea of like the worse that you actually have played, the more story that you sort of get because you're spending a little bit more time in it. In the world.
Yeah. And that I do like that idea of a particular aspect of the story developing based on the fact that you're shit at the game.
And the fact that this one turned up in the morgue, and it was a regular sort of guy when it turned up at the morgue, but then
right. So they start theorizing that it's like a virus instead of a serial killer,
or it comes to the medical examiner. He was the last one to see the body, fully there, and then just before he did the autopsy, so they start thinking that he may actually be it, and like the serial killer or something like that.
That's a lot of branching alternate paths to put into what's basically some environmental storytelling. But I like it.
Yep, 3 to 1 click.
Yeah, smeared musk,
fumed autopsy.
So, SpaceX comes out with a new rocket. But there's a disaster because the fumes ignite. The rocket takes off and it smashes straight into Elon Musk, smears him across the ground.
Oh, God.
You are doing the autopsy.
There's only a smear left. What's there to autopsy?
I mean, but it's also part of like finding out what went wrong with the rocket. Picking up the pieces. Is there
another way that we can take the autopsy? Like,
all right. So maybe just because I don't want to use any other term for Musk, I think it's still a SpaceX rocket that smears Musk. But you're not doing an autopsy on Elon Musk. No. You're doing an autopsy on it's like the first manned SpaceX flight. But there was they couldn't find any technical malfunction. So you are having to do an autopsy on the
rocket
astronauts.
Itself.
No, on the astronauts.
Ah.
To find out if there was anything wrong with them that they would have, to find out if there's a reason. So maybe, look, I don't think the gameplay is the autopsy. I think it's that you are investigating these astronauts now, who are now also mostly dead. Maybe one of them survived. I don't know.
And he got bitten by a radioactive butterfly.
To find out what happened, right? Because it wasn't a technical malfunction. It was some sort of human error or potential, what's the word? Malicious.
Mm-hmm.
Maliciously done.
I think as part of this, investigation, you're looking into the results of the autopsies. You're looking into, the technical analysis that's been done on the rocket.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. And you basically...
And you do have to take a look at the Musk smear.
It's like, no, it doesn't smell like Musk. Musk, and only the name itself.
The direction, the impact, you need to know that stuff.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Yeah, I don't know.
3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. Collateral wishbone.
Straight, bittersweet. So straight, not straight as in a straight line, but straight as in bass straight.
Bittersweet straight. It's a noun. Bloody stupid word generator. Okay. So a straight is just a body of water separating two land masses, right?
Yep.
Collateral wishbone. This is dumb.
Okay, go.
Maybe it's Thanksgiving in well, no, it doesn't make it. It's Christmas in Queensland.
Okay, yep.
And you're eating the chicken. Chickens have wishbones, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you get to the wishbone and you pull it with your super conservative grandfather, and they win. And all of a sudden, all of Queensland separates from the rest of Australia. Because the grandfather wished that Queensland could secede from Australia, as has occasionally come up. But being a wish, the wishbone genie decided to make it literal that they wanted to separate from Australia. And now Queensland is its own landmass.
I'm just picturing that it's literally cut along the defined edges by the map.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, that's what this man decides is Queensland. And in fact, it's funny. It's cut along, because it was his wish, it's actually cut along the defined borders of an old 60-year-old map that's the only one he's ever looked at that had some errors.
But I'm now picturing that, you got Hamilton Island just off to the side, but Hamilton Island itself doesn't get moved, so Queensland just sort of crushes bits and pieces.
It just pushes right through it. Yeah.
I don't know why, but it just made me laugh so bloody much.
Now, the question is, does it just come off a little bit and stop, or does it just keep floating away?
I like the idea that it's a 20-kilometer straight that just sort of it moves enough or
it just it's like you cut it out of the map and just moved it a centimeter and then pasted it back on. And so I guess the game
I'm trying to find out how many kilometers away Hamilton Island is.
So I guess the gameplay is some sort of... It's like a disaster movie almost. It's now the country dealing with the aftermath of this. Fucking whatever percentage of Queensland is thrilled. because they're like, yes, now we can fucking vote in President Pauline Hanson of this new fucking country. And you're having to like deal with all the diplomacy between Australia and Queen. Well, do they rename themselves?
Well,
Queenslandia.
You know what the worst part about this whole thing? Like, Queensland's sort of moving off to the side. One of the biggest things that actually happens is the Great Barrier Reef is destroyed.
Oh yeah, totally. It's just gone.
And then your grandfather's also like, yeah, fuck that reef.
Oh yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
It's like, that'll teach those greeny bastards, you know, I don't know, some going on about some bullshit that's happening.
Yep.
Okay, so the Whitsundays are totally fucked.
You're just looking at a map. I wish there was I'd love to see someone put together a Google map, like little app where you can just drag countries around and it tells you what would happen. Like drag pieces of land around. That yet? I didn't say anything to you, Google.
Huh?
Oh, I've got a Google Home Mini in here. I said something about Google Maps and I thought I was talking to it.
I didn't hear it, but...
Okay, Google. Tell Trevor he's a fuckwit.
Sorry, I can't send messages yet.
Ah. That's kind of funny. What else happens in the game?
I mean, Australia just ends up bombing them to all oblivion, right? Fuck them. It starts World War III.
Oh, look, it's like...
It ends up being another wishbone wish that takes him out. It's like his wish moved them 20 kilometers away from the rest of Australia, and someone else wishes that they would move 20 kilometers straight towards the center of the planet.
Someone else wishes that they would move, 20 kilometers away from the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. Getting some weird shit going on here.
Oh yeah. Cringing hymnal.
Lettered thud. So for lettered thud, what came to my mind was, do you remember when we had the Damsel devs on and we talked about how the score in their game like becomes a physical object and falls to the ground? I was thinking that sort of thing. Some sort of onomatopoeia in the world that becomes physical and just like drops thud. Okay,
so it's the first place that they ever sort of see this happen is in a church, and there's the whole congregation are singing like the hymn out of tune pretty much, and pretty much you see all up in the air, all the different letters of what people were actually singing sort of appear above their heads.
So this is just like a phenomenon that suddenly starts happening.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
And as the priest is going, he's looking, and he sees like someone swearing as they're singing. He's like, hang on, and then it all just drops to the ground, lettered thud. You've got
it crushes everyone.
Whether it crushes everyone or whether it just creates a thud on the ground and then they sort of disappear, a la hailstones on a warm day.
Yeah,
they're just sort of
okay. Yep.
So I think that's just, that's the opening scene of this sort of phenomena. But I really do like the idea of now you're working for a group that is trying to, like, it turns out that, the people who were within this group, as they've gone out and talked with other people in the world, like other people have been infected with this letter.
Okay.
This letter dropsy sort of...
Letter dropsy, yep. That's what they call it. Got it in one.
Yep.
Because dropsy is an actual disease, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. I know it was also a computer virus back in the day.
Dropsy is an old-fashioned term for an edema.
Yeah, so I sort of see this as a... just so happens that this congregation... for some reason, had some sort of mystical thing happen. But now as they go and talk to other people, gradually the person gets like infected with this disease or something like that actually provides the words that they're speaking above their head.
Is it above their head, or does it start coming from like wherever the source of the sound is?
Well, I'm kind of thinking that it's just like, in Monkey Island, how whenever they talked, it was just above their head.
So does everyone have like a different color?
Yeah.
So from a gameplay perspective then, or from a world building perspective,
Yep.
because I obviously, it appears above their head, but then it like they become physical and fall to the ground.
Yeah.
So like for one, all the people who are infected with this learn to start wearing helmets because every time they speak, they get walloped on the head with the letters as they become physical and gravity takes over.
I think what actually happens is, you get this guy who's going into an argument with like, I don't know, with a guy, maybe on a road rage sort of thing, and like the letters are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he just grabs one and whacks this guy over the head.
Yeah.
And then the letter disappears, so the murder weapon's actually gone.
Yeah, so do they just fade out after a little while? Do they kind of melt?
Yeah, they melt. They're not ice, but they're just, they're physical things that float until you stop speaking, and then they, after a time, they will actually start dropping off.
Gravity starts affecting them. Yeah, I like the idea that the louder you speak, the larger they are and hevier they are, and maybe the longer
larger the font size,
and maybe the longer they take to disappear.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that this becomes quite a common thing. Not everybody has it, but it's it's maybe like 15% of the population or something. And so they start being able to do things like analyze the color of the text and match it up to people. Like, I can see detectives finding the remnants of words on the ground at a murder scene. And they're like, oh shit, like, you must have really yelled this one because it's still around.
The witness is like, and what color text did he have?
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, but they get to like, right, quick,
come forward and say this word. It's like, no, that's not the font that I saw.
Yeah, exactly. Get this fuck back to the lab as quick as possible before it disappears, so we can like spectrally analyze it, and then they could go and talk to all the suspects and like compare it. And you get people just like not talking because they don't want to incriminate themselves. Taking the fifth really takes on new meaning when they can literally get physical evidence from you speaking.
I'm really liking this this image that I've got in my head of like the police line up and it's like, come forward and say the following line. And it's like you say it and the words come across.
The words appear. It's like, yes, it's number 3. I would recognize that Comic Sans anywhere. That mauve Comic Sans.
I just love the idea
that it's dreams.
That it's different. It's different font. It's different sizes. It's different. You can put in bold, underlined. And
if you speak in an accent, it goes into a different font. But only if it's a good imitation.
I think maybe it starts off with it's the first third of the game is that you're trying to work out where these things come from. But then it sort of fast forwards a few years and it's like everyone's now got this whole thing and you see how society's changed with the way they're now looking at it. But, you're still trying to work out, how the hell did this thing actually happen? And,
well, maybe. It's almost more interesting if it's just, it happened, now this is the world.
Yeah, I like the idea that there's no answers, but the guy's still going along.
It'd be cool being like you're like a private eye or or just a detective, because I'm just picturing like you don't need to learn how to lip read anymore. You just have to have decent binoculars. Like people don't know. Well, people will no longer like finding a place to talk about things you don't want other people to overhear. Like it becomes very different. Because you have to make sure, for one, you talk quietly so they're small and they're going to disappear quickly. But, you carry around a dustpan to catch them or something, to sweep them up afterwards and make sure there's no evidence left behind. You get like, people... People who are really good at anagrams are like high in demand because the cops are like, oh shit, we've got a sentence left behind. All right, bring in Maud. She's been doing the anagrams in the newspaper for decades. She's going to figure out what this guy said.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the idea. I love the idea that, you've got, maybe it's one of those sort of games in which you've got multiple characters that you follow along with. And Maud was actually one of the original people in the congregation at the start.
Yep, sure. Yeah.
And so then, she gets called in, by this detective and, to solve the anagrams. Then you play as Maud, and it gives you a hint as to how to do some of the anagrams and that sort of stuff.
Sure, yeah, and you get a bit of insight into, like, she's highly religious and she's got her theories around it, obviously being some sort of miracle from God or damnation from God or something.
I'm moving away from the fact that it melts.
Okay.
I'm moving more to the fact that, like...
That it does stick around unless you destroy it.
That it does stick around, but, like, you can get them to decay and that sort of stuff if you...
Yeah, well, maybe you just have to do a little bit of work to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Maybe, again, the materials depend on different aspects of the speech. Some people, it does end up just being made out of a chalky substance, which you can kind of easily crush down and break into a powder. But, like, some people fucking have titanium letters. And it's really fucking hard to get rid of them.
So, first third of the game, we already sort of got an idea of what's happening there.
Yeah.
Then you become like a detective within this thing, solving some crimes that have to do with, like, letters and, like, anagrams. And
this could be a fucking episode of Sesame Street. I feel like this is something they do, because Sesame Street has done some cool shit. And it'd guest star. We
went straight to murder and all this sort of stuff. I was not sure whether Sesame Street want to do that.
Well, it's Sesame Street Nights. Starring fucking Chris Maloney.
Oh, God. Dum dum. Oh, shit. Law and Order Special Letter Unit. Doo 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 doo.
Yep. Might be the episode title there.
What's
Law and Order Special SLU.
Yeah, okay. I reckon that's pretty good. Well, I'm just thinking about, like, people complaining about, oh, can you switch off the subtitles? I hate it when subtitles are long. Yeah, but you can't switch them off anymore.
No, not in this one. I love the idea. Okay, all right, So, actually what would happen is everybody would have to start watching TV with subtitles on, because otherwise their floor would be littered in letters. Like, around the speakers, it's just gathering... It's just building up.
They've got to mime it.
Well, everyone just has to break. Everyone just has to break the volume control button on their TV, because if their kid decides they want to actually hear it, then, like, the house just fills up with these tiny little fucking letters.
How do headphones work then?
They don't. They're actually very dangerous.
It just pushes letters into your head.
Yeah, like, they could kill you. That's actually a new way that people murder people, is just putting headphones onto them, turning them up full blast, and it just impales loud, large letters into their brain. Like, heavy metal music is banned. Music in general is frowned upon.
I mean, I suppose the one good thing about it is that people realize just how bad pop music is today when they actually see the words that...
They see the words coming out.
It's like, is that what they're fucking talking about?
There are all these, like... There are all these secret concerts where people still want to listen to music, and they just put themselves through the hell that is... like, letters raining down upon them into the mosh pit.
And you got that one guy in the mosh pit who always looks like they're singing the right words, but then when you read it,
you see the actual words. Oh my God.
You say something to your mum and she goes, "What did you just say?" And she looks at the letters on the ground.
She looks at them on the ground. It's like, no, I said hits. They just got mixed up.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Okay. I reckon we finish it there. That's a great one to finish on.
I think we'll end it there. Oh, thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online, we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. No, we're not on Snapchat. Friendster, MySpace.
We've got more than one
Google
friend
Plus.
on
Bitstormcast on all of the ones of those that are actually real or count or still around. You can find our Facebook group, our website, our YouTube, all on Podchaser. Look at the links on the side. Or you can play our episodes there. You can do a bunch of stuff there. Podchaser.com/Bitstorm.
We're on iTunes. You can rate, review, subscribe. You know the deal. We'd like to plug our friends at the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Search for hashtag AGPN on Twitter or the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. Finally, we'd like to thank Kuradust for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So, thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I am Trevor Scott.
Oh, you said that too loud. There's fucking T's in my ear. And S's. And C's.